present what you have. And the learner was not even given that time to do the research work, and he brings out what you have. Right now, if you go to class, you and the learner, you are at the same level. You are at the learning level. That's why we don't even have teachers. We are instructors. We are facilitators.
You are no longer called teachers?
No.
I should be called instructor.
If I tell my learners, I'm a facilitator, I'm not a teacher.
You are your colleague?
Yeah, actually, that is the best.
You are your colleague. You are their colleague.
When I'm in class, my job is to facilitate learning. So to guide them. And if my lesson, for example, it takes 80 minutes, that is a double in lower secondary. I'm not supposed to talk for close to 40 minutes. What am I talking? These are the people who are supposed to be discussing themselves.
To give you information.
Yes.
But that is delivery of information, data, and facilitation. I want us to look at the grading system first. We shall reach there. This grading system, where you only have result 1, everyone who sits will have to pass. And not like the system we used to have, that here so and so is in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, whereby people know themselves, this one is better than me, this one performed better, like this and that. So what advantage does this system have over the previous one?
I think that's what most parents or most people in our communities want.
Ask the layman.
Yes. A candidate who sits and gets an E, that is the last grading.
Okay.
So take it to an equivalence of an F.
At HSC?
At HSC. No, not at HSC. F9 in our own curriculum.
Oh, yeah.
Curriculum. That's what I'm talking about.
Failure 9.
But this time, for example, our head teachers have gone for selection right now for senior 5. A school will say to get a subject combination in A-level science combination, you will have maybe received an A. An A, an A, an A, and B. So an A is an equivalence of a distinction in all the curriculum. Then a B is an equivalence of a C2 and a C3. That's what I'm trying to do.
You have combined a 3 and a 4 into a B.
That's what I'm trying to bring it for someone to understand.
Okay, proceed.
Then C3, then C is an equivalence of like a C4 and a C5. And the D and then the proceeding. For someone who has received the result E, for example, someone who receives E, that one will also not receive a transcript.
That's a contradiction.
Yes.
This person has come in result 1 and they are not receiving
or the is?
Yes.
No.
You will not come in result 1?
Yes, or the
in is. What result are you going to come?
That is the result 2 we are talking about.
Result 2?
So result 1, you must have received a B or a C or a D for something to be able to show that this candidate did not pass all the subjects, but this candidate passed specific subjects and then did not achieve all the competences in the other subjects. So then this grading is bringing out what the learner showed at school level. Even the interpretation, I don't know whether we shall talk about change in how the items are said.
We shall go there.
So it's the questions or the items that changed from the other item. We are not teaching about recording. Recording, no. It is about the learner interpreting and putting it in his layman's language and then writing.
But let me come with my question again. In the previous grading system, under the previous curriculum, there we used to be so competitive, burning the midnight candle. Every time you wake up, you have to struggle. You have to come in Division 1, I have to score a Distinction 1. Now there seems to be some sort of laissez-faire type of doing things. Learners are assured they have to pass. Everything is now cheap, you have to get marks. Doesn't that bother you?
Let me ask you, why are you happy that learners are passing? Why is the community so not happy? Why is the community not happy that learners are passing?
No, we are worried. We want them to earn something which they deserve.
So you still want the learners to fail and then we recognize?
No, we don't want learners. We don't want learners to get things out of a silver platter. We want them to sweat for things. Now, they seem not to be sweating for work now. They seem to be getting marks freely.
Let me just bring something, then I come back to your question. One, what caused that was we would cook learners. You would go and tell learners, chemistry is the study of this and this and this. And that's what I expected the learner to produce. But right now, you have to explain to the learner, for the learner to put it in his own language. And the learner from first world school and the learner from third world school, they are all learners. They all have brains. They can grasp the content. The only thing is, how do you want these learners to produce the content? That is the only difference. But if you bring the runner from a third world school and you put in a first world school, that runner will pass. That runner will pass. So what we are trying to do is, according to this ministry's curriculum, wherever the runner is, this runner has no empty head. No. This runner has something in the head. So we try to bring it out and make sure the runner produces. And that's why all these runners are at the same level.
What?
Like they are teachers.
What are
the teacher
some?
who teaches in a third world school is the same teacher because we do the same training.
So what are some of the shortcomings that were married with the old curriculum that this new curriculum is trying to cure?
One.
The grading system, I think. Concentrate on the grading system for now. What are some of those shortcomings that were married with the previous grading system that this grading of yours is trying to cure?
Thank you. Right now, let me start with the old curriculum. For the old curriculum, we would do what we call summative assessment. We would teach this runner for 4 years. Let's concentrate on lower curriculum, lower senior 1, senior 2.
That's what has been applied so far. So
we would wait for this learner, what he has studied in 4 years, then this learner would summarize it into
3 hours.
2 hours. There is no paper for 3 hours in O-level.
Okay.
For 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And then we say, this learner has studied like out of 100, you just look out something like 20% of the 100. And then after you say this learner is bright or not bright. You
assess someone's intelligence in just 2 hours. If my memory cannot reproduce something I saw.
The has so much work.
Then I'm stupid.
Something small. But this is what we are talking about.
That was a bit unfair.
Yes. This is what we are talking about.
To assess my intelligence in
this
2 hours.
Now,
you know.
We start accessing this learner in senior 3. When I'm teaching in class, I'm assessing my learner. I write a report about my learner.
You don't wait for your name.
Yes. I don't wait for your name. I start assessing in senior 3. What is my learner doing best? Is he good at talking in class? Is he good at classroom control? Does he come on time? Does he ask questions so well? Does he answer my questions very well in class? Does he ask from other learners? I'm scoring my learner. And those scores, I will submit them to UNEB. So I think we are now scoring the whole child. As opposed to
the whole, you are educating the whole man.
There is also a project which is also part of scoring because the project is also assessed. This project, I start with the learner. It is the learner to bring what they want to do. And UNEB normally gives us a theme every year, and it can choose which theme. So it's me, one, to interpret with my learner. Of course, I have like a group of 10 students in school, and those are the ones I'm managing. And every teacher has his own cluster of students which they are managing. So that project I access with the learner. We do it together from senior 3 up to senior 4, and I score it from there. So I think this curriculum, that's why I said we are bringing out the whole child.
But you see, teacher,
starting from classroom, outside the classroom, up to when UNEB comes and asks them.
You told me not to call you teacher. So Mr. Instructor now. Mr. Facilitator, honorable colleague. I'm the teacher. You are the teacher, yes sir? So now, facilitator now. There is something you and I know, which normally happens at campus, where a similar system of education takes place. Seemingly similar, whereby if I am in good books of account with my teacher or my tutor, my lecturer, I'm capable of passing without fire. Won't you have such a kind of tendencies coming in, you teachers trying to favor the students that you have interests or any deals with?
We can't preach.
Because the good thing with the old grading style was that nobody can beat UNEB's standard. You want to go and brave UNEB to score you. But you guys now are the teachers, you mark there and then a child can come putting on a miniskirt and you are dead. You have to give marks.
Even the language change, they are not marks, they are scores.
Wait. Wait, yeah.
Now, we can't preach wine and then we take something else.
We are living in Uganda, my friend.
It is very true. And we are all Ugandans. We have different classes of Ugandans. Now, these learners, first of all, we are parents. Before I'm a facilitator, I'm a parent. Yes. And what I want to happen to my child is how I will treat someone's daughter or son. So these learners, we start with them from classroom. They are our daughters actually. We are their fathers because you interest me with your learning. So first of all, it is me to tell them how to dress, how to behave, and the like. And again, I'm grooming this one to be a colleague in the profession. So there is no way I can now groom a wrong colleague, a wrong person. I will actually be grooming a wrong person.
You see, Mr. Facilitator.
Let me talk about this.
Proceed.
They are what we call 21st century skills. I have to recognize someone speaking skill, listening skill. I have to talk about patriotism, environmental care, how you love your environment, how you protect it, and all those skills. That's what we start with in a class, at a classroom level. This learner, which skill can you recognize in this learner? And then you help to groom that skill in the person. So we have to play our role. I know in communities we have wrong elements, but then it is our duty to come back and do the right thing. You can't entrust me with your daughter or son, and I end up becoming now a wrong person to your duty or son.
But as you NAB or the Ministry of Education put their measures to ensure that this delicate integrity is kept unscathed.
Oh, you had actually reminded me something. When we are submitting marks of the project, when we are doing a project at school level, we show evidence. We take photos because projects are like experiments.
Who takes the photos? The child, the students?
The child.
They don't have phones.
Guidance.
They don't have phones.
Most schools have cameras, a school camera. I can even take it with, I can even move with my phone when we take with my phone. But later I have to store them with the school because they are not part of my property. But most schools have cameras. You go with the field, of course, with the guidance of the teacher because you have to show that this child does not get any problem when they go out in the communities or even in the school farm or wherever they are. So you have to take photos. You never can come and they say, show proof that this child did a project. You have to show report because they write reports. You have to show report, you have to show photos, you have to show videos and everything. Even these coursework marks are the ones that we are talking about. You must show a file of this child. Actually, everyone is supposed to have a file in school. So when your neighbor comes, your neighbor is a person, your neighbor is not something else. So if a neighbor official comes to school, this person can ask for a report of Kayebe, so and so. Then I have to report to show this file. He reads at this and this date, this was done, he progressed to this, he progressed to this, he progressed to that.
Facilitator, let's go deeper now on delivery of the content. That's part of the grading system, but now delivery of the content. Now projects, what are some of the projects being done in subjects like CRE, history, English? What projects are being done in such a kind of subjects?
Thank you. One, every school has a motto, for example, and there are even statutes in school. For example, you may enter in a certain school, you see a statute which you don't know. I'm not a specialist in history and CRE, I teach chemistry and math, but I'm giving you an example. You may get at school, you see a statute, you don't know what it means. But this learner can study the history of that statute. And he writes something which can even be filed in school, and which no one has ever thought about. So can be a project. A project is something that brings out a hidden meaning which can be important to the community, and not necessarily in financial terms. No.
Is it some bit of, I don't know how we used to call them at campus, some sort of a study you tell a student to go and do a study about something, then they come and report the class? Is it the same thing you do?
For projects? No. For projects, let me give like in my area of specialization.
Okay.
For example, in chemistry. Last year's theme was about, actually for senior series now, they want current senior for what they are doing. It was about conserving the environment. For example, this learner studies about how to preserve environment. This learner can look at, for example, these plastic bottles, which everyone is crying about, and we can't do without them. This learner can look at how can I turn, using the knowledge from all the subjects. By the way, it's not about chemistry. A project uses all the subjects learned in school. How can I use the knowledge achieved in classroom? I solve this problem. This learner can get these plastic bottles, mineral water, and then he turns them into, for example, a broom. He can turn them into a dustbin. He can turn them into anything else. For example, in mathematics, this learner can develop maybe a certain measurement of how to measure like a school pitch. Like you may have a pitch which you just pray from, which is not measured. This learner can go on Google, he learns about how a football field is supposed to be, like measurements and all that. He comes and tells them this is how it is supposed to look like, and he helps them to achieve. He has solved the problem at school level. And we look at how to solve problems in our communities. And the community of a learner is the school where the learner lives. So it should be very important in school before it goes outside. That's our project.
So if you have a class, let's say a person at Impange says, or Kahinje says, you have a class of 500, 600 students, you have to do 600 projects.
Yes, every learner
must have a project.
Must have a project.
Isn't there a monetary component in those projects?
For example, there what?
Monetary component, as in sponsoring those projects. When they need some money to be conducted?
One of the things that we are teaching these learners is to use the locally available materials. We don't
improvising.
Yes, improvising. We don't allow them to go and buy machines and buy what and buy what. No, we ask them to use the locally available materials to get that new thing which they want. Those learners, yes, they do those projects. They write their reports individually, and they are divided into clusters for the teacher. For example, a teacher can handle 10 or 5 depending on the number of teachers available at school for easy management. And those learners, they have to meet their teacher. For example, how we do it, they have to meet their teacher either on a weekly basis or every after 3 days, and to make sure that they can get out something.
But now, Mr. Facilitator, when you look at this whole curriculum and the eagerness you have to implement it, you as a technocrat, what are those things you expect to achieve with this curriculum? What are the real objectives of this curriculum? What is it intending to cure exactly?
One, let me start with what happens in class. The way we teach. These learners, when we are teaching or when we are handling them, we give them what we call scenarios in class. A scenario is a set of information given to a learner to use it and solve any given any challenge or any problem within the community. So while we are teaching in class, we empower these learners with critical thinking skills, which used to not be the case the other time in the old curriculum. The content is the same. By the way, there is no content change, but there is change in content delivery.
They're still studying about the vernier caliper, the Bunsen burner. Are they studying those things?
But right now, when you are talking about the Bunsen burner, and yes, the Bunsen burner is still there. But right now, when you are teaching it, you have to level it to the level of the learner to understand. There is when you talk about heating materials and you talk about Bunsen burner, but you have to tell the learner that there are so many heat sources of heat, including the stoves that they have at home. Yes, so the learner has to understand that there are also these heating materials, not necessarily the Bunsen burner. So starting from classroom, this learner is empowered with critical thinking skills, problem solving skills. For example, you can set a scenario about someone working like in a shop. I know these learners work in shops, and you tell them the challenges associated with working in a shop. This learner will now give you all the points that you want, all of them. But the other time, I would go and talk about, and again give the answer, without allowing the learner to think.
To look for the answer.
Yes. This learner now knows exactly right now, if I'm embattled with this challenge, how do I come out of it? And this is something that us now, we did not get a chance to look at. And even these other graduates, that's why they're talking about graduates right now. They don't have that problem solving skill. If you leave, for example, a graduate with 10,000 at home to look after like 4 siblings, you will say money is not enough and the person will just sit and fold their hands.
So do you really think issues of critical thinking capacities, problem-solving acumen, are those the only things this curriculum is really trying to...
This curriculum is appreciating that every learner has something in his head. It is not just a dull mind, there is something. And it's trying to bring out that something.
But you see, that is one thing I also wanted to talk to you about. I know as an educationist, you must have done some psychology. And it is not a really hidden fact. It's abundant everywhere. People can have mental incapacitations. Why is this curriculum trying to do away with that? Someone can be mentally weak. Is that alien to us?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact that someone can be mentally weak?
Yes, it is. It is.
Because my dictionary will tell you there is a diagnosis called mental retardation. A person can be mentally retarded, and it's at different levels. That's why there is IQ, intelligence quotient. So is this curriculum trying to deal or to shun those facts?
No, we recognize it is there. We recognize it is there. But one, again, that is another thing. But this runner can be physically fit. Physically, he can use the hands very well without keeping a lot of work in the head. But this runner can have something very, very well. For example, this runner in class or at classroom level, this runner can be good at classroom control or governing runners or fellows in class. When we come to, for example, the project which I was talking about, this runner can develop a very good project which does not require memorizing in the head. And then in the end, this runner can finally come up with a skill using the hands without necessarily keeping a lot of work in the head. And it will be recognized.
Okay. Gentlemen, we will take a short break, and when we return, I will tackle him more on issues like logistical challenges, human resource challenges, and also other conflicts that are happening due to this new curriculum, especially between entities like DIT and their own examining board. Just after a short break, and we return. Don't go away.
Bagenzi harohe kichweka ekinkumanya kikahumba ruhanga ubuyemera hansozi olengeresi amare. Fort TV, stay entertained.
Professor Bamuramya Hindukore pilot mu bicuwe habo kubasomere naramuza na ruhanga bantu yinye tusubizaba amagezi kazarwa bayito sobora kugaita utasomera liwa Kira kachigamba yarahira mazima tulebike kandi tujwale bike hakire tusomesa abana nimbarama bazairi nye tusomesa abana amagezi kazarwa bayitosobora kugaita utasomera liwa motale uliho gende bakuramba amagezi kazarwa bayitosobora kugaita utasomera liwa motale wange uliho gende bakuramba omwana nomubwetaki tentasobora kuzichakasa ebyombeka bizane tara bayito kusoma mpaka kuli mumbeka nda yawe bazairi nye tusomesa abana.
Welcome back from that short break and beautiful song from the late Chigambo Moses Aral, Kusomesa Abana, Kusoma Kikuru, and indeed today we're discussing the new developments in our education system. I have with me a very competent technocrat, and he's also informed about the new system that is come to revolutionize our education system. That is Mr. Kayewe Happiness, teacher of chemistry and mathematics, is here to take us through all the nitty-gritty of the new competence-based curriculum. There are some clarifications you need to make about result 1 and result 4, but also help us mitigate the anxiety of our parents who are worried the children are not passing. No competition.
Start with, you record in our old curriculum, you never would recognize whoever scored between a distinction between Division 1 and Division 4. So those of X and U, those ones could not get their certificates.
Yeah.
So from an equivalent of Division 1 to Division 4, that is the result 1. So even the result 1, there are even grades of passing. A student who passed with A, and B is at a certain class of passing compared to someone who passed with C and D, C and D.
Is it recognized?
Just a second. It is the same as someone who passed with Division 1, even the one of Division 4 had passed, by the way. That's why they would go to get a distinction certificate.
A certificate.
Yes. So result 1 now sums up. Whether you go to Division 1, whether you go to Division 2, Division 3, or Division 4, you all passed. So that's what we are having. Second, about the anxiety of parents, this is the first year. These are the cohorts.
Okay.
So I would just tell the parents out there and all the in our communities and even the candidates, even those who are in lower classes coming, that this is the first year. And if a change is coming, it comes with a lot of anxieties. People don't understand. People reject. Like people are still locked up in the. I want my learner to get Division 1, to get 8 in 8, 10 in 8, and all that. But just recognize that your learner has scored something.
And has passed.
Has attained something. It's not at 0.
I want to tackle you on the issues that have not been harmonized yet to ensure that this curriculum is really implemented fully. Starting with the conflict between the DIT, Department of Industrial Training and the examining body. Isn't such a because actually you know that some of the marking that was supposed to happen at Form 3 did not happen for this cohort. So what is that supposed to mean?
I will talk very brief about DIT and the Minister of and the secondary education because that one would be for the spokesperson of Ministry of Education, I suppose. But he made a clarification, which I'm just going to tell you. Last year, when these cohorts who finished were in senior 3, DIT had come in. But the DIT is expensive. It needs a lot of money to do those projects at schools. It had wanted to come and access projects, only projects. But later we discovered these schools cannot afford DIT. And DIT was going much into money. What are you getting when you do a project? Is there any money? But these projects that we are not talking about into money. Money can be later, but we are talking about a skill for what someone can do. So DIT, as of now, it first came in the schools, but later it was phased out. So as I talk, we don't have DIT. It's that DIT is like when you go for those who branch and go for other vocations, that's where they find DIT. So but high school we don't have.
So now, what the part it was supposed to play when these people at senior 3 doing their projects, was it catered for?
Yes,
or it wasn't?
Even cohorts they did projects. They did projects, and then there is also a score for there is a grade for projects on their transcript.
So you didn't miss the part that DIT was supposed to
We
play.
did not miss anything except that if I can use the word modification, we modified it. So instead of
For better or for worse?
for better.
What do you say for worse?
So instead of being managed by DIT, it was managed at school level,
Okay.
and definitely by the teachers. Remember DIT, it's like UNEB. You see, the beauty part of it with all the curriculum, was accessing a learner which it did not know. Someone is in Kampala is accessing a learner which doesn't know. But right now, I'm accessing Rujumba or Wumanyere from day one.
His weaknesses, the strength, and everything.
Yes, and I know this is what Rujumba can take. This is what Rujumba cannot take at classroom level. Even when I'm facilitating or when I'm teaching them in class, I even know how to handle them. Rujumba needs a lot of time. I even give you time outside classroom to continue with you. But the other time it would be beyond where class. So whether you've got or not, that's how you move. But right now,
Mr. Facilitator,
Yes,
DIT, in my view, or in my own weird thinking, I thought was coming in because this curriculum was trying to bring in new things. It looked like a full package of things like cosmetics, hairdressing, salon, bakery. It tried to bring a lot of things. And are you having enough logistical base to deliver all these things and dispense the new curriculum like it's in?
The ministry, which takes us Ministry of Education and Sports, it has a technical team, technocrats. So for them, when they sit, they look at this level, can the learner take up all this? And the ministry advises us, handle this. That is one that gives us even the syllabus.
Yes.
Handle this, don't handle this. Even this curriculum, things that were removed from the curriculum, handle this.
Kind of update us. The knowledge I had is that this curriculum is handling a lot of things, even at all level, hairdressing, sweeping, everything. So what are some of the things that were removed?
Now, I'm talking about content.
Okay.
Like syllabus content in class. There was a lot of content. For example, you find what you teach in chemistry and biology and physics there.
No, let's talk in terms of subjects. Did the subjects increase or reduce?
Subjects actually reduced.
Sure.
They reduced.
Okay.
Dramatically. They reduced.
Okay.
And even at subject level, like for example, chemistry, if it had like 20 topics, they were also reduced.
Reduced as in some of the content removed or compressed?
Compressed. There is content which used to have, like, you find like topic 1 and topic 10, they are almost the same. So they were abridged to come up with something, to come with only one part. Yes.
But
then
that,
some schools, they are still teaching hairdressing, bakery, and all that in schools. So that is also another added advantage.
That came with the new curriculum.
Yes.
But now, that comes with a logistical challenge.
It comes with a cost.
And you see, there are so many schools, at least by 2023, I think I read it was an article in Monitor. So many schools, around 2,000 senior secondary schools in the country, only 600, around 600 were ready for examination and also ready for assessment by DIT. How did that play out? Did all the schools just cope up in a minute? What really happened?
Now, let me tell you something. For example, one, it depends on the capacity of the school.
Or some parts were not assessed?
No, it depends. Like, for example, bakery is not assessed by UNEP.
It's not?
That is just a skill which is earned by the learner as the learner is leaving school, but it's not accessed by UNEP. It is not a project. So it is when you go, like for example, when you go to a certain school, there is that co-curricular part which you get from the school.
Home economics is examined by UNEP.
Yes, that is very true.
Food and nutrition is.
Yes.
Are they different from bakery?
That's why not every school can afford food and nutrition because it comes with an extra cost. There are schools, if you count, for example, around our city here, not every school can afford food and nutrition because a learner
At Kiabamba you have it.
Yes, a learner who pays for food and who does food and nutrition, he has an extra cost because they do a lot of work outside that part. So that bakery that you are talking about, you find that it is done by maybe all the learners. Like they have a school farm whereby every runner goes and gets that skill of maybe gardening, weeding, and farm and everything.
I'll ask my producer. We are talking about UCE results, not just UCE. We are talking about UCE results. I don't want our viewers to get misguided. We can proceed. So you're telling us that you're simply trying to paint a picture as though the new curriculum is not logistically disturbing to dispense by the schools and the ministry.
One, this new curriculum is expensive.
Thank you.
It is expensive. And that's why some schools are struggling to cope up. If we reach at that level of coping up, they're struggling to cope up. One, that learner needs a lot of reference materials. Because the other time, the teacher would be the complete of the learner. But right now, this learner is not interested in what I talk. The learner is interested in what he will get.
So if you're talking about being expensive, you're talking about so many schools that lack libraries, that lack laboratories, that lack computers.
Even teachers.
Even teachers.
tutasomeseze enseri tugendeho tufoke bayirubare abutaka babayise nkuru yitwe nikikafuhe bantwinye tusomesa abana amagezi kazarwa bayitosobora kukaita utasomera uliwoha motali wange ugende bipapura mbagenda amagezi kazarwa bayitosobora kukaita utasomera uliwoha motali wange ugende bipapura mbagenda obo tasomere emigisha kulekaho nukwoti ense kusiga ufuka mwirubale nikikafuhe bana inyamutege hamani amagezi kazarwa bayitosobora kukaita nikakulye utasomera uliwoha motali wange ugende bipapura mbagenda amagezi kazarwa bayitosobora kukaita utasomera uliwoha motali wange ugende bipapura mbagenda kakuba nasomere nakubaira presidenti wa Amerika baitu kandi mawe bitabo bidaito nokontire kansomesa abana.
Sorry for that technical glitch, but we are back. Sorry for interruption. We intend to give you uninterrupted best media service around the region. It's not a good thing when we break off due to technical glitches, but we request you to bear with us. So, Mr. Facilitator, you are still discussing the issue of logistical challenges with the new curriculum. So when you look at schools lacking facilitators, lacking libraries, lacking laboratories, so what is the all practical build of this curriculum, and why should we have hopes that it's going to be a game changer?
One, I must amend government and our ministry because all schools, including private schools, they received books. They received books.
Enough?
Yes. Now, enough is another point of discussion. But at least they received books.
You want to run away from the point of enough.
And, you know? Enough. What is enough?
Okay. Enough is enough to deliver the results that are required.
Because enough can be every learner to receive his own copy. That one can also be enough. But enough can as well mean every 10 learners to receive one book. But at least every school has a book. And what they do, when you get that book, the school now takes an extra cost to photocopy. And then you store. One, this curriculum is engaging the parent. You as a parent, do you know where your child studies from?
So the point is, when you talk of engaging the parent, personally, I've received so many calls from parents requesting me to help them interpret results. Even teachers,
It is very true.
So, teachers, they are not only few, but they are also less trained to administer this curriculum. So, doesn't it bother you, facilitate?
I want to again make something clear. There was no content change. There was change in the delivery of the content. I don't know whether to make any sense. There was no change in content, but there was change in the delivery of content.
I'll make you understand it also, like me. I may have a destination, setting off from Fort TV, where we are here, to go to Chivambe. I may choose to go to Chivambe by foot or on foot. I may choose to go in an aeroplane. I may choose to go by bus or anything. But whichever way I choose to adopt has what it requires. Another way may require so much stuff. Another way may be less consuming in regards to, logistics. So whether you say it is just a change of delivery, we see it coming with a lot of implications.
Let me tell you something. I teach mathematics. And I'm going to give you a very, very small question. I don't know whether you are friend to mathematics.
I don't know that I'll answer it also.
Yes. And there is a topic we call fractions, decimals, percentages, and like. And we live with all those. If, for example, I ask you, 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 5, which one is greater?
I don't know.
If I ask a drunkard, I think I'm using the word drunkard in quotes. If I ask a drunkard.
But people get drunk.
Yes, I don't know whether, yes.
People get drunk. I've ever been drunk.
Yes, so it is normal now.
It is
if I
normal.
ask a drunkard, 2 bottles of beer for 3 people and 3 bottles of beer for 5 people, how long do you think that drunkard will take to interpret for me? The drunkard will imagine 3 people, 2 bottles. 5 people, 3 bottles. The drunkard will automatically tell me 2 bottles for 3 people is the best. That's why you drink a lot of alcohol. That is the best. That's what I'm talking about, changing content delivery. So you have to bring that one out of fractions. Talk about beer or food or man or something which the learner understands. Coming to training, it is very true. We were trained when the curriculum had already come. Even up to now, we are still receiving training. But at least these trainings were removed from Kampala or at the ministry or even to at the regional level, at the district level, and at school level. At least every school. Let me talk about every government school because I don't teach in private schools. At least I teach in government schools. Every government school has
You have 2 government
teacher.
jobs? You have 2 government jobs?
No, I teach in one school.
You said you teach in 2 government
has
schools.
employed me to teach in one. So I'm talking about the government school.
Okay.
At least every school has a trained teacher. And this teacher comes and trains the rest. We go on training and getting just change in the delivery content. So I would like to appeal to the parents. This curriculum has come to stay, and it has come for the best of our learners, not for the worst of our learners. Kindly try to adopt. You are also stakeholders. If you have anything you don't understand with the result of your learner, you pay these schools a lot of money.
You see the challenge. You see the challenge. The challenge, Mr. Facilitator, is that the new curriculum has come with a lot of pomp, has come with a lot of media exaggeration.
And it is because it is new.
And you see, you are giving us too much hopes that maybe, just maybe, this new curriculum and modes of delivery, like you've talked about, are going to go a long way in dealing with the problems that society has been grappling with, notably like unemployment.
I don't want to talk about other countries, but as I talk, Kenya went that direction earlier than us. But as I talk, they are also still breaching the gaps in CBC, competence-based curriculum, up to date.
And
they are still crossing.
They are dispensing the very curriculum you have here?
Yes, the ones that we are implementing.
First, wait. You have a new competent-based curriculum. I don't know the nitty-gritties inside. You're the one who's giving them to us.
The word competence, what it means. You see, we have to explain every time to our
the public,
our clients. The word competence comes from the word competent. What are you competent about? For us, the other time we only used to look at recalling and reproducing, memorizing. This is not the competence that the learner has. No. This learner can do anything else apart from.
But you see, the point I'm trying to bring here, if I can be more direct with my question, we know that there are schools where students trek miles or even kilometers to reach a school. We know that there are so many learners who actually study under a tree. We know that there are so many schools where learners study on hungry stomachs. Do you really want us to believe that the issue of the curriculum is going to deal with the problems of these students?
Now,
do these students require a curriculum?
You are connecting two very, very, very different things. Now, those are challenges affecting
education. Yes.
And they are the same challenges which are affecting now the curriculum implementation.
Thank you.
So the curriculum is not going to to be implemented fully at the school where learners study under the tree.
So that's the point.
Studying under the tree simply means one, you don't have a library. You don't have maybe a laboratory or a computer lab.
Yes.
So where would the learner do the research from?
That's the point.
So what I can appeal maybe, I add a voice, you add a voice, and the other person is to appeal. And I must thank the government for constructing the seed schools. Every seed school which is constructed is fully facilitated with a lot of computers.
You're too generous with the government. You're too generous with the government. I don't know why.
The government is not only my employer, but it is also the one which is giving us the direction.
You don't want to cut the branch where you're seated.
I'm appreciating what it has done.
But the point is, if these realities are continuing to prevail, don't you think this very new curriculum is going to grapple with the very challenges the old curriculum had, and it may likely get doomed to?
I want to be realistic that in a school setting, for example, there is a part of this country which I think I and you know. In such a school setting where learners walk for 10 kilometers to get in a school, now the definition of that school is different. Those ones will lack out.
They're the majority.
Implementation.
They're the majority.
Now that one can be for our mother ministry and the government which I'm talking about, to think about those learners, to bring schools closer for them to access. But in school, in communities where learners maybe access a boarding school or can easily walk to school and all that, and the school is fully funded, they will get the best of what they want.
See, the point is, we're talking about a country. We're not talking about privileged students at Chevambe, at London College of St. Lawrence. We're discussing about a country, really. Because if you say by 2023, out of over 2,000 secondary schools, only a paltry of 600, 500 was ready for UNAIB to examine their students. Don't you think we are having a curriculum that's not going to be useful to us?
Now, the word ready can also be discussed. What do we mean by being ready?
Ready, it means they had accomplished or gotten every...
Finish the syllabus?
No, they could meet the requirements. They have the teachers are facilitated.
Let me also tell you something. Up to now, there are even schools who got cafes who don't have even a computer at school. They send those results or scores of learners to UNAIB through cafes in town.
Now that raises a very important question that me and you and maybe the viewer should also help us answer. What needs to change first? Is it the curriculum or the way we are administering education in a country as a whole?
One, we cannot hold the whole ministry or the whole education system at all. Certain things have to keep on changing as we move on. But what is important, the biggest part had already adopted. First of all, this curriculum, when we are being trained, trainings had started as far as 10 years plus.
Are you sure?
Yes.
For the new competence?
Yes, and even sampling was done, but in a few schools. They would reach at a school level, like in every region, they would pick like 10 schools. They look at the nature of the school, and then teachers were trained. They started with one teacher per region, not per school, one teacher per region, then a teacher per district, up to a teacher per school. So by the time it was implemented in 2020 before lockdown, not all the teachers had been trained across the country, but every district had a trained. Up to now, you may be surprised to find that there is a teacher who has never been trained. Don't get surprised. And you may find there is a teacher who has never taught.
But you see, Mr. Facilitator.
But what I'm trying to mean is, This is the first year. We have just reached the first students. I would like parents to be calm. As we move on, more and more loopholes are being closed.
Let's identify the loopholes that have to be closed. One of the loopholes which we are discussing still is the issue of logistics. In the old curriculum, you had students sitting for practicals or doing practicals of those subjects. Some could do practicals in Form 4 because laboratories are not equipped. Some don't have libraries. So if you have the old curriculum itself was not being treated fairly, and the same fate the new curriculum is facing, should we have reasons to be hopeful?
Let me tell you something. Many other private schools are closing because they cannot afford
the new curriculum.
Yes, they are closing. And I have a sample in our region.
Is that a good sign?
Yes, if you cannot give a service, then what are you doing? You have to close. Yes.
They flock seed schools now.
And seed schools, that's what I'm talking about. All government schools are equipped to take care of those runners.
All of them?
Sorry?
All government schools are equipped?
They are not free, but they are equipped.
Okay.
You see, that's why it comes back to the grading. There is A. If it is not at grade A, at least it is at grade C. It can averagely take on. Let me tell you some of the loopholes that need to be closed. One, as a parent, I want you also to be so much engaged in your learner's education because you pay money for a service. Look at that school. Can it give what my learner needs, what my child or my daughter, what my son or daughter needs? If you find this school cannot afford this, then you can walk away to another school which can afford. Two, I agree that even teachers are also getting trained. Even as teachers, we rejected when it had come. We rejected it completely. Because first of all, it needs me to do a lot of research. If I'm going to class the next day, I will have to do a lot of preparation in the morning. Otherwise, I will reach in school, the learner will get for me and challenge me.
And you secondary teachers were so lazy at preparation.
Secondly,
you don't make lesson plans, you just come marching.
Secondly,
so you are now caught.
You would find when I'm teaching like in 4 schools. So I have to reach here, I teach, as soon as I finish, I run away. So right now, even part-timing is getting done.
You're not going to part-time?
I'm saying it is getting done. So it, like the curriculum implementation, it did not stop immediately, but some teachers are stopping to part-time. If you had 4, you are now have like 2 schools, and very soon you are dropping to 1 school. Because this is it. This learner, you have given some work to do research. The moment the learner gets something, he runs to you. Now if you are not in school, that learner is cheated. That learner needs that teacher almost like every day to access a teacher.
But now, Mr. Facilitators, we are coming to the climax of the show. There is something I want to tackle you on, and you give us your own honest opinion as to whether it is not going to affect the dispensation of this curriculum. You have a policy of enhancing salary for teachers. I know it is not, you're not the one enhancing salaries, but I want you to discuss with me how you feel about it. Now, you have teachers earning more than their fellows. I personally studied sciences, PCB at HSC, but I was helped by so many teachers in the arts department. Yes, there was a debater that used to help me in debate, but shaping us morally and stuff like that in the chapel everywhere. So I can't really say they were useless to me. And they can say equally they were important as my chemistry, physics, and biology teachers. So this issue of having disparities in the salaries for teachers, depending on what they are teaching, isn't it going to affect delivery or dispensation of this curriculum?
I prefer not to give a comment on that statement for reasons known to me. But psychologically, as a human being, it is not fair. But I prefer not to give a comment because
you don't prefer to give more comments because you have already given a comment. It's unfair.
Thank you. So if my comment is taken in good, I prefer not to go beyond because people perceived it as a political move, and therefore we had left all the reasonings to the head of state. So I prefer not to give a comment about salary dispute.
But you are happy about your enhancement. Perhaps you want more.
That one can be a discussion for another time. But
so no. Talk to me. How easy is it going to be to select these students for A level and stuff? Is it going to be an easy?
Head teachers are already in Kampala. for selection. But one thing I can mention about selection is, yes, going back to grading, there is a school which will say, let me start with old curriculum, which is going to say that for me to give you a science combination, you will have scored distinctions and at worst D2, D1, D2, D1, D2 in sciences. So this is the same school which is going to say they all passed, but there is a difference in passing. The school which will say for you to get BCM, you must have scored A in biology, A in chemistry, A in math. That is a first word school. Another school will say, me, I will give you BCM if you had scored B, C, and C. That is, if you scored maybe a C4, a C5, and maybe a C5, I will give you BCM. So that's what they're doing. But as we talk, it is they're under selection. I think up to Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But by the end of Friday, we shall have got. But that's what already is going on.
So they are not going to face any difficulties in selecting these students for...
They will. For example, a first word school will not give you biology if you scored a C in biology. But a third word school will give you a C if you scored a biology. Because for them, they have even been taking students of grade 4. By the way, if you get a grade, if you go to grade 4 and the old curriculum, you would also go in HSC. But grade X and fail, you don't go to HSC.
The very last question as we climax this show. There are people who had sat for UCE 2023 and they had not passed the expectation, so they had repeated. They repeated, I mean, in 2024.
Transitional class.
Okay.
Yeah, there were two. There was the new curriculum and then old curriculum.
So people who sat for old curriculum, 2024, what's their fate?
Those of old curriculum. Yes, results were released, but the ministry did not give a comment about their A level.
Did they fail? Did they pass?
Yeah, others passed.
But some failed.
Some failed. Yes. And I think the same discussion goes to those of new curriculum who failed. I think up to now, the ministry up to now is still looking for them. They are opposing them to repeat only senior 4 because you must get scores starting from senior 3. So I think we can be patient enough for UNEP to give us, for the ministry to give us the way forward about all the curriculum transition and then these ones who failed.
So these people who have completed Form 4 under the new curriculum, when they go to Form 5 and 6 HSC, are they going to be getting content in a new format or in the old format?
I and you...
I'm not a technocrat, remember? So before you say...
When they were releasing the results, UNEP, sorry, the ministry has not moved up with an official. You see, we don't move with newspapers and social media. We have an order which we receive. We have advice which we receive from the ministry.
You haven't gotten the advice?
Yes, as we talk, ministry told us that there is no new curriculum in A level. We are moving with the old curriculum, the students who are coming. And it raised voices here and there, including our politicians and parliament and all that. But for us, we are waiting. When these learners come, we have the content. UNEP is going to give us a test framework. The ministry is going to give us the abridged curriculum, which we are going to follow, and we shall handle your
But dates have been fixed already for starting of Form 5?
Yes, they have been fixed. And between now and 3rd of March, we shall get.
If there is no new curriculum, you're ready to go to class with textbooks.
We are on high alert. The moment they say this, we are trained, we have the content, we have to deliver that content.
We borrowed 10 minutes into this hour, so Mr. Facilitator, you can offer your last words on this show. And
thank you for having me. I want to appeal to all our parents outside. Please embrace. Change is never easy. I know there is always a cost. Some people have already paid the cost. I talked about schools which cannot afford a new curriculum, which are closing, which is sorry for them. But I would appeal to you, get engaged in where your child is going. Please be part of your child's education. Visit the school. Get what the learner is getting. You have had cases where some schools get money from learners and they don't register with UNEP. If you have had those cases, get engaged. Get to know, did my learner, were even the scores of my learner sent to UNEP? Get to know. These learners have, by the way, NINs, learner identification numbers, in UNEP. This learner has an account with UNEP. So you can get to know that. Otherwise, I ask you to support us, to be part of us. This is for our own good, and I'm very sure we shall reach there. Otherwise, thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back again.
Thank you so much for being part of us since we began an hour ago, and now we're here at the very climax of the show. It's been the quiz on the 19th day of February 2025, and my name is Rejumba Aral, the host. Thank you so much.